Hey guys, Tim Durham with DroneMappingTools.com, and in today's video we're going to take a look at Emlid Studio and how to process stop and go, where we're processing your surveys done in the Reach View 3. This could be ground control points, topo, you name it, anything that you survey in Reach View 3. We're going to bring that into Emlid Studio and process it there. And as a bonus, I'm going to show you how to do transformations from one reference to another. So maybe you need to convert it to UTM, or if you're in the States, you need to convert to state plane. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. All right, so what we're looking at is Emlid Studio Beta 10. This has been out since September of 2021. I don't know when a new release will be coming out, but it's still very functional. And I will tell you this, on the very recent video that I just released a couple of days ago, I'd said in there were some issues with Beta 10 doing stop and go. And I have said this on other videos. Everything is easy once you understand it. And basically what I didn't understand was the workflow of doing the stop and go. So Svetlana was very kind and showed me where my issue was. I wish I would have looked into that when doing that video, but nonetheless, we'll have a video dedicated to just this process. So for people that are trying to process your Rover ground control points that you've taken, this will be very helpful. I've talked to a few people recently where they did have some issues in processing using the Emlid Studio. So hopefully this will answer those questions. If I have a problem, there are other people that have the same questions and the same problems. So hopefully the video will help. All right, let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is look at the folder structure. I've already downloaded my cores file. I've already downloaded the Reach 2 file from the base, the RS2 base and the RS2 Rover. So I have those separated into folders. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my cores folder, and I'm going to bring in, this is from ZME1. It's the closest cores station to me. Here in the United States, we have a plethora of core stations all over the country. Some parts of the country have more than others, but there is still an abundance of core stations to help you do processing, especially if you have a dual frequency unit. If you are outside the United States, you may or may not have core stations at your disposal and have a good amount to use. If you don't, you will be able to do PPP processing on your base. And I will for sure get a video done on that in the next 2 weeks. I've been promising in a few other videos, hey, I'll do PPP. So I will show you. So if you're somewhere that you don't have core stations, I'll show you how to do that. Then you will take the PPP coordinates, and now you can do just differential processing on your Rover. So what this video is assuming is that you have a RS2 base or just a Reach base and a Reach Rover, and you're using both of those. So let's continue on. So I'm going to drag my core station over to the base. And of course, when you use a cores, you don't ever make any adjustments here. And we can go ahead and use the navigation of the cores file. I don't think it really matters whether you use the navigation from the cores or from the unit that's being processed. So of course this says Rover, but Rover just means the unit that is being post-processed. And in this case, it is going to be our RS base unit. So I'm going to come back up here. I'm going to go to my RS2 base, go in here to the UBX file. Now I did log UBX and Rhinex, but for the purpose of processing, I'm going to use the UBX, and then Emlid Studio will create the Rhinex files from that. And so you see this folder that popped up here on the right, and when I open that up, you can see the converted files there, okay? So I need to now come back over here, go ahead and select my antenna so you can see whether you had the M+, M2, RS Plus, or the RS2, which that's what I have. And I'm going to do 1.592. I'm going to hit save. And the last thing you want to do is make sure this is set to static. So when we're doing PPK, static. When we switch over and do the stop and go, at that point we'll switch over and do kinematic. Now I want to look at the settings really quick. You see here, this is just the file name. You could set the file name if you wanted to. You can change the folder where you output to. If you just leave it at input, it'll put the file, the corrected file right here where your original file was at. You can cut off. If you need to trim your file for whatever reason, you can do that by using your trim here. You can also change your interval. So like this was done at 1 second. If for some reason I wanted to change that, I can go here and change maybe 30 seconds. So anyway, I'm just using the default settings from Emlid Studio. Now, the one thing that I am going to change is that because the reach base and the core station are two different units, I am going to set this to GLONASS to fix and hold. And then when we come back and do our post-processing where the RS2 base and the RS2 Rover are the two units, they're identical. And at that point, I will then set this to on. But for this person, I'm going to go ahead and set it to fix and hold because we have two different units that are being used. And that's really it. So I'm going to hit save. Okay, so I just wanted to show you this. This is an article that talked about the GLONASS ambiguity settings. So I'll put the link to the article, but that's just showing, you know, where it's recommended to use fix and hold for different receivers and then have it set to on when your receivers are identical. So anyway, just wanted to kind of pass that on. And now we're going to go ahead and click on process. And look, there are some of the additional features in there. And as I get time, I'll and learn even more of how those features can affect the outcome of your post-processing, then I'll do videos and share that. So there are certainly other options in there that could possibly have an effect on your outcome or things you might need to change based on your situation, or if you have interference or just anything. We'll take even a deeper dive into that in a later video. So we're just about done. So you see that we have a fix down here at the bottom. It tells you we only had 1 point and it's 100% fix. So I guess that's good and expected given the fact that this base sat out in the wide open for almost 2 hours unobstructed. So I would expect nothing less. We are ready to post-process our Rover. But now this file right here, this is what is going to contain. So it stuck this position file, but this is going to be our post-processed coordinates right there. So this is what we're going to enter in just a minute. We'll enter that in for the base coordinates, because instead of using the Rhinex coordinates, which it obtained in the field, we now have PPK coordinates, and that's what we're going to update with. I'm going to go ahead and start a new window. Let me minimize that for a second, set that to stop and go. That's what we want to do. All right, so we're going to do stop and go. And now I'm going to bring my observation base into the base because we post-processed it. And I'm also going to go ahead and use the navigation file, the P file there. I'm going to go ahead and edit my antenna to an RS2. It was done at 1.592. Now, we need to change our coordinates from the Rhinex header to the known coordinates. And so now, let's, where's my notepad? Here we go. Okay. Now it will default to whatever you had. So I ran this once. And so whatever values you had in here last time, that's what's going to just pop back in here. So in a day-to-day workflow, unless you ran it once and then something happened, you had to run it again, you will always be putting new numbers here. But the values that were in here just seconds ago are the same as these, and that is because I'd already run through it once. All right, we're going to copy. There's that. Now let's do our long. Okay. All right, what happened here? Copy. There we go. And look, you can always just type. I would always copy and paste. It just eliminates the possibility of an error. So I would always do that. Okay, so we're done with this. I'm going to close it. Now I'm going to go back up. And I'm going to go into my Rover. I'm going to go into the UBX folder. And when I drag this, it's going to do the same thing. It's going to create a Rhinex folder where it's converting UBX to Rhinex. So we'll see that folder, and there are those files. You don't have to do anything, but it automatically did the conversion, and it is now using the Rhinex file that it converted. But the corrected file for our survey will actually end up going here. Okay. All right. So we're good, but remember, we want to change this from static to kinematic. So we've got that done. We are now ready to process. And so after the processing, that's when we'll bring in the CSV from our ReachView 3 survey. Okay, so this is where you don't want to forget. I'm going to go back into settings, and I'm going to change this. Okay, that is correct. So this stayed on for this particular setting. Let me save that. I want to go back to something. If I go back to PPK and I go to settings and I scroll down, fix and hold. Okay, very good. So it's actually holding those settings for whatever process you're doing. So for stop and go, in that case, you see that it's set to on. Okay, so I'm going to hit save. That's good. Now let's go ahead and do process. I don't think it dropped any additional files. Nope. Okay. This has been processed. And so now we have everything processed. You see that our fix was set at 92.9%. We have a float of 7.1%. And this right here, this area that you see, this is when I was walking underneath the trees. So it is expected that we would have float and maybe even a single when I literally walked right underneath the trees. That's just going to happen. Sometimes you can't help it. You're out in the field and you got to cross a tree line to get to the other side and continue. So, that's just going to happen. But I wasn't actually surveying any points. That's just showing the solution at that moment in time as I was moving. So the next thing we want to do is we're going to bring in the CSV file that we downloaded from the tablet where we took the survey. And I've already covered that in a previous video, and I'll try to put the link one of these corners up here. So let's go back up, and this is the CSV file that I downloaded. So I'm going to drag that file over here to the project, and I could say show me fix, float, and singles, but the fact is I only want to see fixes. So I'm going to hit start, and then it will tell me of all the points. I had 22 of them, and so down here you can see that all 22 are in fact a fix. So that is good. If you want to see the file that contains the updates, I'm going to come back in to where the UBX file was, and you see this file right here that says corrected. So I'm going to double click on it. It's a CSV, and it'll open up in Excel. And so what you're going to see is the lat long PPK coordinates, and it's in ellipsoid height. And then of course over here it's telling you what the solution is. This was my antenna height right here. So now I'm going to show you. So hey, here it is in lat long ellipsoid height. What if I want to have this in UTM, or in many cases here in the States, you need to have it in state plane coordinates. I'm going to show you how. We're now going to take this file, import it back into the ReachView 3, and from there we're going to convert it over to whatever coordinate system we need to use and export it back out. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out. We are going to switch over to the tablet, and that's where we're going to do the initial import. And before I do that, so yeah, I'm going to go ahead and break here. We're going to upload this file to Google Drive. That's going to be the easiest way for me to import it into the tablet. So I'll get that set up and we'll be right back. Okay, so I am in Google Drive. So I've already created a folder, and you can see I have one called Emlid Forum, Emlid Studio Stop and Go. Doesn't matter what your format on that is, but I am now going to drag the corrected. And again, this is the corrected file that Emlid Studio just generated. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to drag it over to the Google Drive. Now you can email it to yourself, and if you have email on your tablet, you could do it that way. Honestly, to do this particular process, it is actually better to do it on Google Drive as opposed to, for me, to email. Now, when I'm on the tablet and I want to send it back, then in some cases, email is actually the easiest way to go there. So now that this is done, now we're going to switch over to the tablet. We're going to import this in and finish the conversion on the tablet, and then we'll export it back out. What we're going to do is we're going to take the tablet, and I'm going to go into, let's switch back over here. Let's go to home. I'm going to open up Reach View 3. And this, we do not need to be connected to your RS unit. This has nothing to do with that. So I'm going to go into Survey. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new survey. And let's call this Emlid Studio. And let's call it UTM 16 North. Okay. And it's NAT 83. And for me, NAT 83 means NAT 83 2011. So that's a given. Okay. We're going to save. Ooh, no. So now in our coordinate system, so we can do one of two ways. You can type in UTM 16 North, and then you can scroll down and find, like this one right here, NAT 83 UTM 16 North. If you knew the EPSG code, you could have just typed that in. But generally speaking, it's easiest just to type in the reference system that you're going to use. In this case, I do want NAT 83 2011 UTM 16. So I select that, and I'm going to hit save. Now I'm going to go back. I got to exit back out of here because we're not going to survey. I'm going to go back to projects. Now I want to come here and I'm going to say I want to import, and we're going to import the CSV file that we just uploaded to Google Drive. And so I'm going to import a CSV, and now it says, okay, well, choose the file. So I'm going to choose the file, and it's going to be on Google Drive. So I do that. It is my drive. All right, so now we see I've navigated to the folder where the file was uploaded. I'm just going to select this file. It's going to import it in. And we should have a total of 22 points, and we do. Okay, but now what I want to do is I'm going to export it right back out, because now it is going to be a corrected file. So literally by us importing it, and we're going to export it, and I say corrected, it's going to be corrected, but in the UTM 16 North system. So I'm going to hit CSV, and this time I'm going to do drive. And so I'm going to select the folder that we selected before, hit select. And now I'm going to hit save. Okay, so that file has now been uploaded, and we're going to actually do the same thing, except I'm going to do one for Mississippi West State Plain, so that we just show you that we're doing the very same process, but now I'm going to go to State Plain. So I'm going to go back to survey. We're going to create a new survey, and this one we're going to call it Emlid Studio. And we're going to call it Mississippi West U.S. Survey Feet. Okay. Oops. Let's do. That's okay. Survey feet. NAT 83. Okay. And now we're going to do, of course, here you got to spell it out. Mississippi East. All right, so this is not Harn. I want to do NAT 83 2011. Did I miss it? Right here you go, 6510. So I'm going to choose that one right there. And we're going to save it. Again, we go back to projects. And now I want to import that same file one more time. So I'm going to import. I'm going to click the three dots, import. I want to import a CSV. It says, well, where do you want to import it from? Well, we're going to import the corrected file. So remember, the corrected one is the one that originally came from Emlid Studio. So I'll choose that. 22 points. I'm going to go back to projects. And then this time, I'm going to go export. We're going to export a CSV. I want to do it to Drive. It's going to be in the Emlid folder Stop and Go, so that's good. And let's get that down. I'm going to hit Save. And one file has been uploaded. So now we're going to switch over, log on to Google Drive on the computer, and we'll download those files and take a look at them. All right, so we are now logged onto Google Drive on the PC, and this, again, this file is the one we uploaded right there from Emlid Studio, and that was in NAT83, but geographical. And now we have NAT83 in UTM here, NAT83 in Mississippi West, where we use the ReachView 3 app to convert those. So I'm going to download. All right, so we're going to download to our RS Rover folder. That'll be a good place to put that. And this is going to be the Mississippi West, so I'll save that. And now let's do the same thing for our NAT83. Download. Save. And we can close you out. Now here is the Rover folder where we just downloaded, and this is going to be our Mississippi West. So let's take a look at that. And so this is our Mississippi West. Again, everything is in ellipsoid. But there you go. So there's your lat long ellipsoid. This is Mississippi West ellipsoid. And we'll close that. And now let's look at UTM. Same thing. Here's our UTM right there. And again, lat long will always still be included. And so now you can take these and format these columns, just create a new copy and paste them to a new sheet to bring into whatever mapping program you're using. So Pix4D may have one format, Drone Deploy, Maps Made Easy. Any of these programs you're using are going to have their own format for bringing in your ground control points. Just simply format the columns to match that, and you're done. So this is how you do your post-processing. It is how you convert your points to a different CRS. And one thing I wanted to point out, so I'm going to bring back open Emlid Studio, and we'll move that over. So you will know that originally I brought in the cores unit here, right? So let me go back up. So I brought my cores unit in. When you start out with a particular datum, in the US, the core stations, every one of them are going to be NAT83 2011. So by me using a NAT83 2011 base unit as the very beginning, everything that I process from that point on is going to be NAT83 2011. The transformation will take place in ReachView 3 in the app. If you needed to, for some reason, go back to WGS84, at that point, you could transform back to WGS84. But I just want to point out that when you start out with a base, like a cores unit that is NAT8311, to start with, everything from that point on is NAT8311. Because, and the reason I say that is because in the Rover, go here. In this particular file, it says WGS84. It's not WGS84 because the core station was NAT83 2011. So all the data moving forward is that as well. So you can't look at this and go, oh my goodness, I'm in WGS84. You know that what you start with is what you end with until you upload to the ReachView 3 app, do your transformation, and re-download it. Now you'll know specifically what you're in. So I hope this was very helpful. If it was, please, please, please give me a thumbs up, give me a like. If you want to see more of these videos, I got a lot more coming out, then go ahead and subscribe and you'll just know every time a new one comes out. So one of the things I'm going to do in the very near future, we're going to take the Emlid M2, and so I'm going to compare it to the RS2. We're going to go out and do some surveys, and you know, if you're on a budget, we're going to take the M2 with the Swift GPS 500 antenna and take some points, and we're just going to swap out the RS2 with this and go around, take points. We're going to see how they compare in post-processing, and then we're also going to use this as a static. We're going to do some tests with this and see how it turns out. So it ought to be very informative, and especially for people just trying to do some stuff on a budget. We'll see how that works out and how it compares to the Emlid RS2. So again, thanks a lot. Well, that's a wrap on this video. Thank you so much for joining me. If it was helpful, again, give me a thumbs up, hit subscribe. Let me know down below if there's any topics that you want to see for upcoming videos. I want to hear from those who are watching and find out what it is you want to hear about, any particular subjects. Let me know. If there's anything you need in the way of drone mapping, be it equipment, turnkey systems, or software, then visit dronemappingtools.com. Thank you, and I will see you in the next video.